What's up guys, welcome to Professor Edit. This is your host Awais. This podcast is about all sorts of stories. Stories about people's day-to-day lives, problems and incidents. Okay, let's get started. AITA for asking my emotionally fragile daughter, 16F, to take a paternity test to help me in court. My wife and I are finally going through a divorce after living separated for almost 4 years. We didn't do this sooner because we both separated our finances and co-parented amicably and didn't want to waste the money. We originally separated after I confronted her on multiple affairs, but I wasn't mad, just happy to be done with it. Our daughter was not fazed too much by the transition at first because we tried to make it as easy as possible on her. However, just 2 months after I moved out, my wife moved a boyfriend into our house and made daughter very uncomfortable, so she decided to live with me the majority of the time instead. Wife has since been very irresponsible about bringing men around daughter. When the pandemic hit, my business boomed while my wife lost her job and had to start working at a grocery store instead. Wife decided to finally file for divorce and take me for what I was worth, as I was now making way more than her. I'm not going to lie, things went from mediation to a hostile divorce very quickly when she requested more custody and money than I thought she was entitled to. Ultimately, wife was unwilling to admit to her affairs, and I threatened to get a paternity test for our daughter to prove her infidelity. I had suspicions before about the paternity of my daughter, but never acted on them because I didn't want to lose her. Well, this was a big mistake because this caused my wife to reveal to daughter that she was an affair baby. Moreover, she told our daughter that if I found out that she was an affair baby, then I would do unspeakable things to her. Wife told daughter all this to try to get her out of my home and drive a wedge in a relationship. This has caused my daughter to be distant to me and paranoid and emotionally a wreck for months, and I didn't know why. After talking to my lawyer and getting assurance my parental rights would not be affected by a paternity test, I decided to ask my daughter to take it. I sat her down and explained it was just to prove her mom's infidelity and that she was still my daughter. Unfortunately, before I could tell her much of anything, she had a full-on panic attack and locked herself in her room. Eventually her favorite aunt, my sister, came to pick her up, and now she is living with her family. My aunt is the one who informed me of the things my wife said. Daughter and I have been going to counseling, and daughter plans to come to live with me again. Court also ordered wife not to contact daughter, and my lawyer thinks we will do well. But my sister thinks I'm an asshole for asking my daughter for the test. But the time to prove wife's infidelity was running out, and I thought my relationship with daughter was stronger than just genetics. AITA for asking my emotionally fragile daughter for a paternity test. Daughter and I never took test, but I was able to prove infidelity in other ways. Me reading the title. Yes, you obviously are. Me reading the whole post. Holy heck. No, you are absolutely NTA. Lesson learned? Read things properly, people. Esh. Your ex more than you though. You were able to prove the infidelity in other ways, and the paternity test should have been a last resort option. You could have also gone after her for engaging in parental alienation, which is a great way to get a judge pissed at you. Your ex would have lost a lot of credibility when that came out. AITA for homing the pets my mom got me for my birthday. I'm 17 and a female. My birthday was 2 weeks ago, and my mom got me 3 chinchillas. I had been saving up money through my job to buy my own supplies and chinchillas. I was surprised when my mom handed me the animals on my birthday. I was excited as they are a dream pet of mine. She gave them to me in a really small travel cage sort of thing. Think one of those really shitty hamster cages little kids keep their hamsters in. With the money I got for my birthday, including the money I had saved up, I had enough to get a multi-level cage and all the supplies and toys I would need, and still have around $100 or so left over. I didn't want to keep the chinchillas in the small cage they came with for long, so after checking over my budget one my time and clearing a space in my room, I told my mom I was heading to the pet store to grab a bigger cage and some supplies. My mom stopped me dead in my tracks and said I wasn't allowed to go. This started an argument between us. My mom was going about how she thought chinchillas only live a few months and she didn't want a huge stinky cage in her house, and how I was wasting my money on something that's probably not going to live that long. Since chinchillas are like a dream pet for me, I've done a lot of research about chinchilla care, and I kept telling her they live for around 10 years and need lots of room to play, but she kept saying, well, in the pet store they said they'd be fine in that cage I got you, or in the wild, they don't live that long, I'm sure they get eaten anyway. It got really frustrating for me, since I want to be a responsible owner and care for the animals properly, by my mom kept insisting I was being over dramatic. Since I wasn't allowed to get the stuff I need for the chinchillas, I told my mom I was going to rehome them. She went off and called me dramatic, selfish, ungrateful, and rude. My dad came home later that day and told me I should apologize to my mom and keep my pets, that I was being unreasonable and acting like an asshole towards my mom. I refused to apologize to my mom and got into contact with a friend of mine who I know takes great care of her chinchillas and had an extra cage. I offered her the animals and she took them and paid me. I went home and tried to give the money to my mom to pay her back, and she got mad and called me an ass and said I was ungrateful and acting like a terrible daughter. Am I the ass for hurting my mom's feelings? NTA. Your mother is refusing to allow you to enrich their lives and provide proper housing for them. Your father is clearly not hearing the whole story, and since it's your money, she really can't stop you. But since she's trying to prevent you and everything else, do what you need to do to give them a good home. NTA. Your mother has no feelings other than pure selfishness. Your father is no better. Someone who abuses animals and who tries to force you to go along with it is a cold-hearted monster. And then she tried to guilt trip you for refusing to participate. Don't feel guilty about her poor little fifis being hurt. Move out as soon as you are old enough. AITA for helping daughter move out and going against my ex. My daughter Kayla and I aren't close at all. Wasn't involved in her life for personal reasons. However, always paid my child support. Whatever money my ex-wife needed to take care of her, or if Kayla needed money for trips or something related to school, I'd give it to her. Recently Kayla turned 18 and she contacted me asking for help. My ex got married 2 years ago and she's had a rocky relationship with her stepfather and step-siblings. Her mom is now pregnant and Kayla is upset they decided her room would be the baby's room too. On top of that, my ex expected her to help with the baby, even though my daughter is a full-time student at the moment. Kayla has a part-time job, but I know rent in that city is crazy expensive, even if she found a roomie instead. So offered to help pay for her own place under the condition she continue her college courses. Kayla accepted, so have already found a cheap 1-bedroom, but my ex has been bugging me non-stop for pulling that move. She said she really needed Kayla at home to help out, since she'd be doing online courses anyways and they really needed the help once baby got here. My ex has said I purposely turned Kayla against them, or some shit, because now she says she doesn't want any contact with them after she moves. Not really sure why she'd think that's my fault, but since I'm helping her leave, I guess I'm at fault for it in some way, since I did make the offer. I'd like to know if maybe I was an asshole for not staying out of it and taking away the help they would have gotten from Kayla had she stayed. NTA. Obviously, your ex-wife chose to have a baby, not your daughter. She's not entitled to free live-in childcare and your daughter shouldn't have to put her education on hold or share a room with someone else's newborn. You may not have been much of a father up until this point, but here you made an excellent parenting choice. NTA. If she wants to go no contact with them, there was obviously some serious issues. Good on you for helping your daughter out of a toxic situation. She deserves a good opportunity at life and it sounds like your ex was grooming her to be a maid. To your ex, hell to the no. Though I do think it is worth considering the kind of resource you're being to your daughter. Creating conditions for her to utilize you as a resource will be forever in her mind. As someone who got into financial trouble at one point and my dad reached out to say, if you want my money then you have to have the kind of relationship I want, it's not fun. I chose to be broke and in debt than to have that or any condition on his resources offered. Still haven't talked to him in 2 years. Several therapists have approved. I don't necessarily think you're an asshole because you want her to go to school. Rather just consider what that means to her at the end of the day. NTA. My situation is a bit different. My mother has and always will be a deadbeat in my eyes. She left when I was 3 and didn't contact me till I was 18. She would call my dad on occasion, to check up on us, but when he asked her if she wanted to talk to me and my brother she would hang up. When I was 18 we talked etc, got along okayish, but she would try and mother me, so I would go no contact for a while. For a few years things were okay, and then out of the blue she came up to visit, and that's when shit hit the fan. She tried talking shit about my dad, and it pissed me off bc she left him with 2 kids, and moved out of state, and never paid child support etc, but he never once spoke badly of her. And the first time I ever met her face to face she badmouthed him. I instantly went no contact with her after she left, and the rest of my maternal family shortly after. So my point to this whole rant lol is that more has gone on between her and her mom's family just like you think. Your ex just doesn't want to take the blame for pushing her daughter to go NC, and it's easier for her to blame you than to own up to whatever she has done to your daughter.